Link engaged.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to game number 2 here in our second semifinal. We already know that Baz, our Terran player from semifinal number 1, has moved on with a 2-0 victory over 6jax Energy Vibe. And now we'll find out who his opponent will be as KawaiiRice down 1 game in this series to HasuObs, who just played a remarkable game, really like secured victory, almost played with his food a little bit before he finally decided, okay, this is boring. I smell blood now. I'm going to go in for the kill.
Yeah, and I mean, yet again, just really unfortunate for the players who want to, spawn close positions and do those sort of slow pushes or those timing attacks, as we yet again have cross positions with Fnatic.KawaiiRice in the 12 o'clock as a Terran and Hasu down at 6 o'clock as the Protoss. I mean, if they spawn 6 versus 3, there's a lot of very nice opportunities for the Terran to play mech style, kind of hit that 150 to 170 timing push where they move out off of 2 bases really, really strong. But trying to cross the middle of the map on Lost Temple, going to set itself up for Protoss to be able to pick that apart, as we saw in game number 1 on Metalopolis.
Well, and, not to mention that Hasu is going to show that I'll play a mobility game. I might be slow on the ground, but I'll throw in a few warp prisms here, get some stuff in the back of your base. And, of course, as you know, you've got pretty big base inside Lost Temple here. So, that kind of puts the Terran on guard just a little bit. And it will depend on how they decide to play that opening as to whether or not Hasu will be able to abuse that. But, KawaiiRice had a really, really beefy unit count there at one time. I just don't think he ever got a great opportunity to attack. So maybe this time we'll see him at least attempt a little bit more in that department. I mean, I don't know. If you saw, we could have said, oh, well, we could have seen more drops out of KawaiiRice. That would have helped, etc. But there was such solid coverage of the map by Hasu that it would have been next to impossible. And you said, I missed it when my mouse stopped working, but there was a Blue Flame Hellion drop that just kind of got squashed like a bug.
Yeah, I guess if you're playing that style, you either need to figure out what kind of mech you're going to play. Are you going to play the harassment style where you're out on the map dropping Blue Flame Hellions and running around with Blue Flame Hellions and trying to pick apart your opponent that way? Or are you playing kind of like the jacked rock fist style of mech where you're going to make a lot of big burly units and try to slam through your opponent? And KawaiiRice definitely tried to play the latter, and it just didn't work out that game. Definitely viable, but just didn't work out. And something I want to point out here just during the early game, the chatting between KawaiiRice and HasuObs, they've been through so many rounds that KawaiiRice isn't even aware of what round they're in anymore. I mean, when you're playing a 10-round tournament and you started in the round of 10-24, yeah, I guess it can get a little daunting. You don't even know what round you're in anymore.
Yeah, endurance, if you will. A lot of stamina required here. And we do have our first initial units out over here. We've got concussive shells on the way. And I think this is automatically a great change up in the play of KawaiiRice right now. If we see a potential Stalker heavy army, which is very possible, as we did have Stalker first come out from Hasu, the Marauders will obviously be a great choice for that. We could also see that more are on the way. He's got 2 Marauders and a Marine pushing out right now, but he's just going to expand off that 1 Rax, possibly do a little bit of harassment here. He might take out this probe. Nope, probe is going to be quick enough to hightail it out of there. And let's see what Hasu is doing right now. The Robo facility before his 2 and 3rd gates go down, and this is pretty much identical to what we saw him do in the previous matchup.
I really like what KawaiiRice is doing here. He's got a really quick expansion. It's very safe with the concussive shell opening, pushing out to take your Zelnega. He's got this Marine just looking for any sort of proxy pylon, which he's not going to find, but always good to see someone out active on the map when they have map control. If he had a map hack, he probably would have taken those units and just killed HasuObs before the sentry was out, but of course, not map hacking, so that's not going to happen. Meanwhile, as you said, HasuObs playing the same sort of style, going to get this Observer, then he's going to expand. Really unit light here. He doesn't have anything that really could deal with anything here. He's only got 3 units, but it's kind of this gentleman's agreement where when you know you're playing someone good, they're not going to do any sort of silly quick attacks, silly in air quotes, but If he did happen to do anything like that, yeah, he probably would just kill HasuObs. But this is kind of what happens when you get comfortable and you know what builds are popular. You know where you can cut corners.
Yeah, and the only difference that we saw out of Hasu in this map is he decided to put down that third gateway just a little bit later. He is getting a second observer out of the robotics facility before he drops down, and the Nexus is on the way. Now, the Terran is going to get up and running a little bit before his Protoss opponent, but again, neither of these players have an epic amount of units. Right now, I would say Hasu probably has the best for his situation because at least he has the force fields to ward off for a while. But I'll be curious to see what comes out of the robo facility next. I don't see. Oh, hold on. We do have the robotics bay down here in the corner, and he's going to go forge. Whoa, double forge. Okay, I kind of like this. Heavy ground units upgraded against a bio army could turn out pretty interesting. No Twilight Council. Instead, decided to go for this 2 forge build.
Yeah, I'm not sure what I think about the double forge. I think if he was basing on, charge lots and gateway units, I would be more sold on it. But the fact that he's going Colossus really quickly, I'm not too sure the second forge is necessary. +1 ground weapons on the forge, very, very sickly good against infantry units. But, armor, it's kind of like, it's all right. But I'm not sure if it's the basis for a strategy. So not completely sold on that. Meanwhile, KawaiiRice has his starport up. He's adding a 4th barracks. Got his engineering bay, but no upgrades on the way. He'll probably get those. He's a little bit gas starved as he's waiting. He just got his natural up, and I'll expect to see that on the way pretty quickly. I like this double observer. He's got 1 observer sitting out, just looking for the army of KawaiiRice, and he's got 1 in the main base that keeps floating around, just keeping tabs on exactly what KawaiiRice is doing, and that's precisely why he went double forge. He knows he's playing bio, as you mentioned, and he must have a strategy prepared to deal with that.
Yeah, and the one thing that I would definitely say that could hurt him is that, going with the double forge, obviously you want to have a more powerful ground army, as it looks like the Protoss is going to get on the move. But I feel like the Twilight Council is really going to benefit him more in the late game. And like you said, not having the charge lots or not having blink, there will be this window where you're like, crap, I wish I would have gotten it earlier. But he's made his decision. Another gateway is down, and we have more units being warped in here. Kind of sentry heavy. A few stalkers here. We're adding some zealots to the mix as well. And, of course, waiting for that second Colossi to come out. And as you mentioned, that double observer, it's so nice. It can catch drops. You got a good idea what's going on with the production. You just look at the vision of it, and there's so much. And here we go. Not a drop, but a vision play there to take out a pylon on the cliff. Any sort of harassment that he could do. And notice that KawaiiRice definitely get out of his base more than he did in that last game.
Yeah, HasuObs a little bit gas starved here as he's getting those quick upgrades. Now he's trying to get Thermal Lance. So Thermal Lance a little bit delayed here. KawaiiRice needs to be careful. He's got a pretty small army here on the field. The rest of his army sitting back at the natural. I really like how KawaiiRice is playing this. He got the quick starport. Didn't really slam out a reactor, as we see a lot of players make that mistake. It wasn't really necessary. Now that he's got a secured economy, he's going to slam that out. Dropping in with the medevacs. We've got 2 Colossus here and sentries and zealots. He's probably going to want to get out of there. Yes, gets out of there immediately. Meanwhile, the Protoss army taking out the destructible rocks at the gold. Going to look to expand there. He's got to be careful, though. KawaiiRice is on the move towards that gold base.
Yeah, and we've got the other half of his army pretty spread out. The Colossus are going to actually move forward and expose themselves, but it is going to buy a little bit of time. Not only do they save that pylon, but I don't think we had any unit deaths go in there. But again, being the aggressor, this time we've got the Terran putting the Protoss on his toes here, and a good combination of Marines and Marauders. Now, that extended thermal lance is nearly done. The Terran has some idea that he wants to go for his third, and so he's going to be a little bit happy as he floats over this command center and realizes, hey, I'm going to get this third up and running before my opponent does. He sees that there's nothing there, but the rocks are down. He'll leave a Marine behind as well. The third Colossus is out, very, very zealot heavy now, and we do have a Twilight Council out, but no nothing being researched out of there. And when you're going to go Colossus and you're going to commit that gas to the Colossus and continuing to add sentries to your build, you're going to have a hard time finding those windows to throw in those upgrades where it's going to be appropriate.
Yeah, the Twilight Council being used actually to get +1/+1, and meanwhile during that exchange there was a little bit of of a drop by KawaiiRice. He just took out a few pylons, supply capping HasuObs for a bit. So if we take a look at the supplies, 128 for our Protoss player HasuObs and 141 for KawaiiRice. A little bit surprising that he's going to take 9 o'clock's natural as opposed to the gold. It seemed like he was just out on the map, didn't have time to deal with the destructible rock, so he decided to take this 9 o'clock natural instead. Now going to deal with the destructible rocks. We have +1 weapons done for KawaiiRice. He doesn't have an armory, so he can't get +2, making a lot of Vikings. And here comes Protoss with his 1-1 upgrades and a lot of Colossi here. He's got that magic number of 4 Colossi stomping around in the middle of the map.
Yeah, and he's got a 5th coming out. We do have Blink on the way, as Hasu definitely seems like he enjoys using that upgrade. We've got a pylon going down at the Xel'Naga Tower, and his 3rd is being occupied now that he has eliminated that Terran threat. Going to transfer some probes over there as well. So his +2 upgrades are about ready to complete. And Blink is just a little bit a ways. He's probably, I would guess that we're going to still see another Colossus pop out here, but the Observer's getting a clear look on everything. It's a pretty nice little army there for KawaiiRice. Taking a look at the army tab, it is 173 for the Terran and 156 for the Protoss.
What is going on at the Protoss' Xel'Naga? I'm not sure what these cannons are for at all. I mean, against a huge Terran Bio Ball, that's going to do probably nothing. So, and it's not like HasuObs is even ahead here where you can start doing stuff like that. So really strange. We can see the one cannon, it tickled him a little bit and did nothing. So I don't really understand that decision, but both players going to back off, and we're getting a lot of Vikings here. He's got 10 Vikings, and that's the number where you can start 1 and 2 shotting these Colossi. Colossi on 2 armor, actually. Is he getting the expensive +3? No, not quite yet.
Yeah, he's definitely ready for those. And so he's like, oh, okay, you can put some cannons up? Watch this. I'm going to put some bunkers up here.
What now?
Of course, yeah, exactly. So bunkers actually going out, and I do like the placements. I mean, these aren't just like, hey, I'm spending money bunkers. We got 2 up by his choke, 1 that leads over to the expansion and, gives him some vision there. As well as kind of connects his base, if you will. Numbers starting to increase here. Is remember we had the Terran player KawaiiRice actually 20 food about ahead of his opponent Hasu, and they have now caught up 185. In fact, HasuObs just taking the lead there in food, and also he has his High Templar out. No Storm quite yet, but it is on the way. In fact, it's about to finish. So it's just amazing. Hasu, like real upgrade heavy in every department.
Yeah. So we had the original dance, which was Colossus versus Viking, and we haven't really seen that come into play too much, but it's still there to be happening. And now we're on to dance number 2, which is Ghost EMP versus High Templar, both out on the field.
Oh.
Psionic Storm Research for HasuObs, 1 Ghost on the field. I can't even find him, he's so thin. But we've also got this Warp Prism play at 9 o'clock, going to warp in 2 Stalkers and a Zealot to go to work on this ill-timed turret wall that's going to get shut down. Army's going to come out, and those Vikings are going to kill that Warp Prism so dead. So dead.
Yeah, it was a nice little attempt at an attack. I like to see him. Okay, I'm done making Colossi, so I'm going to go ahead and bring out some Warp Prisms. Now, 1 Zealot's going to get taken out. I wanted to comment, and we do see the DT Shrine going down. I wanted to comment that, last game I was thinking, and there was a point during the game where you were talking, and I was like, gosh, I wonder why we haven't really seen any ghosts, and I know it's weird to mix up with a mech army, but God, it would have done, at least some good here. By the way, keep an eye on this Warp Prism that is heading on the north side of the map. But one thing to keep in mind is that I think the Ghosts are going to do an amazing job here, especially as they can EMP and get rid of the energy there on some of those Templar as well, which will be hugely devastating to that Bio Army. Now, what is the Warp Prism doing? Well, here we go. We're going to get some High Templars and a couple Zealots making their way in. SCVs will move out of there, a couple moving on through the storm, and we're going to have a bunch of Vikings like, go get them! And this seems to me like it would be a beautiful time for the Protoss to maybe attack. Without that air assistance, hello. So it's a little bit surprising that he's not following up with these harassment attempts.
Or, you know, even if he wasn't max, he could warp in a second High Templar and even storm on the Vikings just to deal all that damage. But
Sure.
they've, as I keep saying, they seem to have some sort of unspoken agreement here where, okay, you take your half of the map, I'm going to take my half of the map, we'll poke each other with warp prisms and medevacs, and then we'll have a good old-fashioned shootout in the center of Lost Temple. So, I mean, the passivity is really getting insane here. As both of them are max. They don't have big worker counts, actually. It's not surprising to see games where players max out and are sitting around 80 workers, but they're both at 60. So that means they've got fairly powerful armies here. KawaiiRice researching +2 weapons. He's also, or excuse me, +2 armor. He's also got +2 weapons also complete. Meanwhile, HasuObs upgrades +3 attack, +2 armor, and he's getting both +3 armor and I believe that's +1 shield. So we're really reaching the point where they're gonna have to fight at some time soon.
Yeah, they are. And then, you know, who's going to be able to reinforce? Right now, we do see Fnatic MSI KawaiiRice trying to just poke in here at the far expansion. And look, it looks like a counterattack by Hasu. And he could find himself really out of position here. Not sure if I agree necessarily with this attack. He is going to have to pull everything back. And let's see, we've got that one High Templar. He is going to storm off on the Vikings. Nicely done. EMP on a lot of units, but he missed those critical sentries and High Templars. So he just took out the shields of a few Zealots. He's going to move forward and try a bust of his own. Meanwhile, the Terran going to go in for his third and fourth. Oh, a beautiful storm just chewing through the health of a lot of those units. Only a couple of medevacs, and he will take this base down. But Protoss doing some major damage itself.
Oh my god, so many storms going off. Terran units falling down at 180 supply. Meanwhile, Protoss charging right into the Terran main base, still completely maxed. I feel like Protoss gets the benefit of this as their warp-in mechanic makes base trading just so great for them. Meanwhile, the Terran army is slower and more hardy. Vikings coming in, probably going to eat a few storms there. There's one storm. Stalker's actually blinking forward to deal more damage against the Viking to protect those critical Colossi. Force field preemptively going down. Terran now not allowed back into his main base. He's got a nice EMP there. Oh, big storm. The Terran units are melting. And Terran's got a big problem as Protoss has declared squatting rights on his main base, and the cops are not here to help out. Terran cannot get in. The door is locked with a force field. Oh my god, so many sick storms going down. And that's it for Terran. I mean, what does he have? He has 40 harvesters and 26 supply worth of units. What does Protoss have? Well, he's got a big 200. Fnatic.KawaiiRice saying that's embarrassing. Congrats. Good luck. And we've got an old-fashioned Protoss versus Terran finals.
Dude, you know, I know that a lot of people are like, casters always say good storms and good force fields. But I hold on. There were some, excuse my language, but this is a PG-13 show and I can drop an F-bomb one time. There were some fucking sick storms, dude. Some sick storms from HasuObs there. Basically, like, just leading with the storms. Putting the storm down where he was going to try to march his units up, had the force field, a beautiful storm down. I mean, he didn't win because of the Colossi. He didn't win because of his Blink Stalkers. Also, chill, that one High Templar that was up on the ledge next to the Xel'Naga Tower, that thing, like, softened so many units there. That was a hero Templar. He only had 2 kills, but man, that was awesome. That was some awesome storms.
Kaidarian Amulet, Imba.